Included with this training CD is a demonstration program which is called Name and Address Maker. I have this project loaded on the screen currently. I will discuss this form and this project from two different perspectives. First, from the user's perspective. What does the project or the form allow the user to do? And what does the user have to do in order to get the project to work correctly? And secondly, I will then examine the code, which of course is what makes the project work. First, the intent of this project is to allow the user to enter their first name and last name into these text boxes. They will then enter the city information, state, and zip code. You'll notice that the name information and the address information is organized in a frame. By doing this, the user's eyes are automatically drawn to each group, and it is very clear as to what the purpose of each frame is. You'll notice another frame for the color options. When the user clicks on these colors, the contents of the labels will change color. There are two labels, and they will serve a purpose that we'll see in a minute. Three command buttons at the bottom of the form: display, clear, and exit. Display will cause the contents of the text boxes to be concatenated into the two labels above. The clear button will simply clear the contents of the text boxes and the labels, and for that matter the option buttons. And the exit button, of course, simply ends the project. So let's run this and see what happens from the user's perspective. The project is now running. You'll notice that the insertion point is at the first name text box, which is convenient because that's where you want the user to start. So I'll type in John and then tab to last name and type in Smith. Pressing tab again, you'll notice that my tab index is working properly since it is now prompting the user to enter the city. I'll enter Los Angeles as the city. Tabbing to the state, I'll type in CA for California. And I'll type in a series of 9s for the zip code. Now you'll notice the command buttons. I have two options. I could click on display, or I could use the access key of Alt-D. I'll click on display, and you'll notice that display has caused the concatenation to occur. So obviously this is where my code is, in the display button. The first name John and last name Smith has been joined together, but yet there's a space in between them to make them easy to read. You'll notice a comma has been inserted in between the city and the state abbreviation. And then there are two spaces after the state and before the zip code. We could try out the color buttons and see what they do. Clicking on the option for red, you'll notice that that simply turns the color of the name and address to red. Likewise, I click on green, and if I click on blue, they change color. So as you're seeing, option buttons have click events in the same manner that command buttons do, in that the user can simply click on these option buttons and cause an action to occur. Now I'll use Alt-C for clear, and as you can see, that has caused the text boxes, the labels, and the option buttons to be cleared. You'll also notice that the insertion point has now been reset, that is, the focus has been reset at the first name text box. I'll type in Sue Jones, and I'll type in a city of Chicago, Illinois. Now you'll notice that I can only type in 2 characters for the state abbreviation. For example, if I try to type another L, I am prevented from doing so. That is because I had the max length property for this state set at 2. And then I'll use some 8s for the zip code. I'll click on display, and again, that information has been concatenated and displayed in those labels. Notice that blue is still the color that has been set. And that is because even though I cleared the option buttons of their choices, the for color property for these labels still retain the previous color. If I wanted to go back to default black, I would need to change that, or actually I would need to create a color in my color frame to go back to black, or I could do that in code automatically. But that's not what's happening here. Once again, I click on clear and the program will clear the contents. Of course, clicking on exit simply ends the project. In the next segment, we will look at this same project, but we'll look at the code to see why the program works the way it does.